Question 1. In a situation where formal requirements conflict with ethical obligations, a lawyer may find it challenging to balance their responsibilities. For example, a lawyer discovers that a corporate client is involved in a potentially illegal activity but is bound by a non-disclosure agreement. How should the lawyer proceed in this situation? A. Continue representing the client while adhering to the non-disclosure agreement and avoid any mention of the illegal activity. B. Disclose the illegal activity immediately to the appropriate authorities, overriding the non-disclosure agreement. C. Seek a court order that allows the lawyer to disclose the information while adhering to professional ethical rules. D. Withdraw from representation and refuse to disclose the information as it is protected. Non-disclosure agreement. Answer. C. Seek a court order that allows the lawyer to disclose the information while adhering to professional ethical rules. Explanation. In this scenario, the conflict arises between the lawyer's duty of confidentiality and potential legal obligations related to illegal activity. According to the Model Rules of Professional Conduct, Rule 1.6, confidentiality of information requires lawyer to maintain confidentiality, but Rule 1.13, organization as client, and Rule 3.3, candor to the tribunal provide exceptions, allowing disclosure if the lawyer believes the client is engaged in illegal conduct. However, disclosure should be done through formal mechanism like seeking court order as per Rule 1.6b2. This option respects the ethical duty to maintain confidentiality while addressing the illegal activity in legally appropriate manner. Question 2. When implementing new protocols in a shared environment, a law firm must consider both legal competence and ethical responsibilities. A junior lawyer is tasked with handling sensitive client information but has limited experience with the technology used in the firm. What ethical obligations does the supervising lawyer have in this situation? A. The supervising lawyer can delegate the task to the junior lawyer without concern, as long as the junior lawyer complies with the firm's general policies. B. The supervising lawyer must ensure that the junior lawyer has the necessary skills and supervision to handle sensitive information competently. C. The supervising lawyer should assist the junior lawyer only if a mistake is made, not beforehand. D. The supervising lawyer is responsible only for ensuring junior lawyer has access to the necessary technology without further oversight. Answer. B. The supervising lawyer must ensure that the junior lawyer has the necessary skills and supervision to handle sensitive information competently. Explanation. According to Rule 5.1, responsibilities of partners, managers, and supervisory lawyers, the supervising lawyer has an ethical duty to ensure that junior lawyers are competent to handle their assigned responsibilities. This includes appropriate supervision and mentorship, especially when dealing with sensitive client information. Rule 1.1. Competence mandates that lawyers provide competent representation, which encompasses not just legal knowledge but also technical competence. In this scenario, the supervising lawyer must ensure the junior lawyer is adequately trained in the technology used and provide sufficient guidance. Question 3. During a comprehensive review of a process that needs improvement, a lawyer discovers a significant conflict of interest involving a former client. The lawyer has already represented the current client in a similar matter and has access to confidential information from the former client. What action should the lawyer take to resolve this issue? A. Continue representing the current client after informing them of the conflict as long as the former client has not objected. B. Seek the informed consent of both the former and current clients to continue representation despite the conflict. C. Withdraw from representing the current client, as the conflict cannot be waived under any circumstances. D. Continue representing both clients without disclosure, as the conflict is substantial enough to cause harm. Answer. B. Seek the informed consent of both the former and current clients to continue representation despite the conflict. Explanation. Under Rule 1.9, duties to former clients, a lawyer is prohibited from using confidential information obtained from a former client to the disadvantage of that client unless the former client consents. Additionally, Rule 1.7, conflict of interest. Current clients' representation of a current client if the lawyer's representation involves conflict with the interests of former client unless both clients provide informed consent. In this case, the lawyer must seek informed consent from both parties to continue representation. If the consent is not obtained, the lawyer must withdraw from one or both representations to avoid violation of the ethical rules. Question 4. During a major transformation where existing methods of client communication and data sharing are being replaced by new technology, a law firm faces concerns regarding the protection of confidential client information. A senior attorney decides to delegate the task of implementing the new system to a junior attorney. What ethical duties does the senior attorney have regarding the confidentiality of client information in this scenario? A. The senior attorney can delegate the task without concern as long as the junior attorney signs a confidentiality agreement. B. The senior attorney must supervise the junior attorney closely to ensure the protection of client information even if the junior attorney has signed a confidentiality agreement. C. The senior attorney is not responsible for the junior attorney's actions once the confidentiality agreement is signed. D. The senior should only be concerned if the junior attorney makes mistake rather than proactively monitoring their work. Answer. B. The senior attorney must supervise the junior attorney closely to ensure the protection of client information even if the junior attorney has signed a confidentiality agreement. Explanation. Under Rule 5.1, responsibilities of partners, managers, and supervisory lawyers, a senior attorney has an ethical duty to supervise junior attorneys to ensure they adhere to the firm's confidentiality requirements, especially when implementing systems. Rule 1.6, confidentiality of information requires lawyers to safeguard client information, and while confidentiality agreements are useful, they are not substitute for active supervision. The senior attorney must ensure that the junior attorney is competent and aware of the ethical obligations surrounding client information. Question 5. In a case where a lawyer discovers that a client has been misleading the court about the facts of the case, the lawyer faces a dilemma. The lawyer knows that the client has told falsehoods, but the lawyer also has an obligation to maintain client confidentiality. What should the lawyer do in this situation? A. Keep the information confidential and continue to represent the client, as client confidentiality overrides all other ethical concerns. B. Advise the client to correct the false statements, and if the client refuses, the lawyer should withdraw from the case. C. Immediately disclose the falsehoods to the court, as the lawyer is obligated to do so under all circumstances. D. Continue representing the client and do nothing, as the lawyer disclosed the false statements without the client's permission. Answer. B. Advise the client to correct the false statements, and if the client refuses, the lawyer should withdraw from the case. Explanation. According to Rule 3.3, Candor toward the tribunal, a lawyer has an ethical duty to avoid making false statements to the court or allowing a client to do so. If a lawyer becomes aware of false information presented by the client, the lawyer must first advise the client to correct the record. If the refuses, Rule 1.16, declining or terminating representation requires the lawyer to withdraw from representation, especially if the continued representation would result in further violations of ethical duties. The lawyer cannot simply maintain confidentiality if it involves committing a fraud or misrepresentation. Question 6. In an environment where different components of a law firm's practice must work together to resolve complex cases, conflict of interest arises when lawyer in one department wishes to represent new client who has opposing interests to client represented by another department. What is the most appropriate course of action for the firm in this scenario? A. The firm should allow the lawyer to represent both clients provided the clients are informed of the situation. B. The firm should implement Chinese wall or ethical screen between the two departments to prevent any conflicts of interest from arising. C. The lawyer should withdraw from representing one of the clients, as the conflict cannot be resolved without violating ethical duties. D. The firm should allow the representation to proceed without discussion as long as the conflict is disclosed to both clients. Answer. B. The firm should implement a Chinese wall or ethical screen between the two departments to prevent any conflicts of interest from arising. Explanation. Under Rule 1.10, imputation of conflicts of interest. General rule, conflicts of interest are imputed to all lawyers within a firm. However, Rule 1.11, special conflicts of interest for former and current government officers and employees, allows the firm to implement ethical screens or Chinese walls to prevent the conflict from affecting other lawyers in the firm. This ethical screen ensures that confidential information is not shared between the departments, thereby allowing the lawyer to represent the new client without violating the firm's ethical obligations. Question 7. While analyzing the root causes of sequential problems in a law firm's compliance procedures, an attorney realizes that A colleague has been consistently billing clients for hours not work. The attorney is unsure about the best course of action to address the situation. What should the attorney do? A. Discuss the issue directly with the colleague and recommend that they stop the practice without reporting it to any authorities. B. Report the billing discrepancies to the firm's management or the appropriate disciplinary authority if necessary, as this behavior violates ethical guidelines. C. Ignore the issue as it is, a matter of internal policy, and does not affect the firm's overall business. D. Confront the colleague privately and then continue representing as usual as long as no clients are aware of the issue. Answer. B. Report the billing discrepancies to the firm's management or the appropriate disciplinary authority if necessary, as this behavior violates ethical guidelines. Explanation. Under Rule 8.4, misconduct, billing clients for hours not worked constitutes fraudulent conduct and a violation of professional ethics. Rule 5. Point 1. Responsibilities of partners, managers, and supervisory lawyers emphasizes the duty of lawyers to compliance with ethical standards, including proper billing practices. The attorney must report the misconduct to the appropriate authorities or management, and if the behavior continues, it may require further disciplinary action. Ignoring the issue or privately confronting the colleague is insufficient, as the ethical violation affects both the firm's integrity and the client's. Question 8. While investigating a complicated issue between different departments in a law firm, an attorney uncovers evidence suggesting that a senior partner may have engaged in unethical conduct by sharing confidential client information with a third party. What steps should the attorney take next? A. Ignore the evidence, as the senior partner is highly respected within the firm. B. Discuss the matter with the senior partner privately to clarify the situation before taking any further steps. C. Immediately report the issue to the firm's ethics committee or disciplinary authority for investigation. D. Speak to the client directly to confirm the situation before reporting it to anyone in the firm. Answer. C. Immediately report the issue to the firm's ethics committee or disciplinary authority for investigation. Explanation. Rule 8.4 Misconduct prohibits unethical conduct, including sharing confidential client information with unauthorized third parties. The attorney has duty to report violations, especially if the conduct involves senior partner. Rule 1.6 Confidentiality of information mandates that confidentiality must be protected at all costs. The attorney must report the misconduct to the firm's ethics committee or the relevant disciplinary authority, rather than privately confronting the senior partner or bypassing the reporting obligation. Failure to report unethical conduct could lead to the attorney's own ethical violation. Question 9. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges are present, a lawyer is tasked with representing a corporate client in a negotiation with a third party. The lawyer is aware that the third party has retained another attorney who has previously represented a competitor of the lawyer's client. What action should the lawyer take to address any potential conflict of interest? A. Proceed with the negotiation as planned, as long as the third-party attorney is no longer representing the competitor. B. Immediately disclose the potential conflict of interest to the third-party attorney and seek their consent to continue with the negotiation. C. Seek the informed consent of both the client and the third-party attorney to continue with the negotiation. D. Withdraw from the negotiation entirely to avoid any potential ethical violations. Answer. C. Seek the informed consent of both the client and the third-party attorney to continue with the negotiation. Explanation. According to Rule 1.9, duties to former clients, the lawyer has a duty to avoid representing a client in a matter that is materially adverse to a former client's interests unless the former client gives informed consent. If the third-party attorney has previously represented competitor of the corporate client, the conflict of interest, the lawyer must seek the informed consent of both the client and the third-party attorney to avoid violating ethical obligations. This ensures transparency and upholds the integrity of the negotiation process. Question 10. When scaling up operations that experience significant growth in client demand, a law firm faces an increasing workload that requires delegating responsibilities to more junior attorneys. What ethical considerations should be taken into account when delegating tasks related to client representation? A. The firm can delegate tasks freely as long as junior attorneys sign confidentiality agreements. B. The firm must ensure that junior attorneys have the necessary competence and supervision to handle client matters ethically. C. Junior attorneys can handle client matters independently as long as they work under the supervision of a senior partner. D. The firm should delegate all client matters to junior attorneys to reduce the workload of senior lawyers. Answer: B. The firm must ensure that junior attorneys have the necessary competence and supervision to handle client matters ethically. Explanation: according to Rule 5.1, responsibilities of partners, managers, and supervisory lawyers, the firm has an ethical obligation to ensure that junior attorneys are competent to handle client matters. Rule 1.1, competence requires that lawyers provide competent representation, which includes ability to manage increasing workloads effectively. Delegating tasks to junior attorneys without ensuring proper competence and supervision may result in ethical violations, including inadequate representation of clients or breaches of confidentiality. Therefore, it is essential that junior attorneys are adequately trained and supervised. Question 11. In a scenario where a lawyer is dealing with a prospective client and is unsure whether the client has already sought legal advice from another attorney, what should the lawyer do to maintain ethical standards? A. The lawyer should provide advice to the prospective client without disclosing any concerns about other lawyers. B. The lawyer should ask the prospective client directly if they have received advice from another attorney and document the response. C. The lawyer must refuse to provide any advice until the prospective client confirms that they have not consulted with other lawyers. D. The lawyer should continue to provide legal advice without concern, assuming there is clear indication of previous counsel. Answer: B. The lawyer should ask the prospective client directly if they have received advice from another attorney and document the response. Explanation: under Rule 1.18, duties to prospective clients, a lawyer must be careful to avoid conflicts of interest even when dealing with prospective clients. If a prospective client has already received legal advice from another attorney on the same matter, the lawyer must take appropriate steps to ensure not inadvertently creating a conflict of interest. The lawyer should inquire about previous legal consultations and document the response to avoid any unethical behavior, ensuring transparency and maintaining the integrity of the process. Question 12. During a critical transition period where existing processes in a law firm are being restructured, what is the primary ethical responsibility of the firm's managing partner with regard to client confidentiality? A. The managing partner may disclose client information to other lawyers in the firm to facilitate the restructuring process. B. The managing partner must ensure that no client information is disclosed without the client's consent, even within the firm. C. The managing partner can disclose client information to employees of the firm as long as it pertains to internal operations. D. The managing partner is not obligated to protect information during internal restructuring, as this does not involve external parties. Answer: B. The managing partner must ensure that no client information is disclosed without the client's consent, even within the firm. Explanation: Rule 1.9, duties to former clients, and Rule 1.6, confidentiality of information, emphasize the importance of maintaining client confidentiality even within the firm. During any transition or restructuring process, it is the responsibility of the managing partner to ensure client information is not disclosed without consent. The ethical duty of confidentiality extends beyond external parties and includes internal operations, thus safeguarding the client's information during all stages of firm restructuring. Question 13. When dealing with a complex system that shows occasional lapses in compliance with regulatory requirements, what ethical considerations should a lawyer take into account before advising the client on how to proceed? A. The lawyer should advise the client to take a calculated risk and proceed without correcting the compliance issues, as the likelihood of detection is low. B. The lawyer should advise the client to rectify any compliance issues immediately and ensure ongoing adherence to regulatory requirements even if the system occasionally fails. C. The lawyer should recommend continuing business operations as usual, ignoring the regulatory lapses and focus on maximizing profits. D. The lawyer should discontinue representing the client until the system is fully compliant with all regulations. Answer: B. The lawyer should advise the client to rectify any compliance issues immediately and ensure ongoing adherence to regulatory requirements, even if the system occasionally fails. Explanation: Under Rule 1.13, organization as client, and Rule 2.1, advisor, a lawyer must act in the best interests of their client and ensure that they comply with legal and regulatory obligations. If a client's system shows lapses compliance, the lawyer is ethically obligated to advise the client to correct these issues to avoid legal or financial consequences. It is not acceptable for lawyer to ignore regulatory lapses or recommend proceeding with known violation, as doing so could expose the client to significant risks. The lawyer must always prioritize compliance and ethical behavior to protect the client's long-term interests. Question 14. In an environment where different components must interact, such as a large firm with specialized practice areas, what should a lawyer do when they discover that one of their colleagues is engaging in questionable ethical conduct? A. The lawyer should confront the colleague privately and report the issue to the appropriate disciplinary authority only if the colleague refuses to change their behavior. B. The lawyer is required to report the unethical conduct to the appropriate authorities immediately, even if doing so may harm the colleague's career. C. The lawyer should ignore the conduct unless it directly affects their own work, as reporting unethical behavior is unnecessary unless it leads to significant harm. D. The lawyer should discuss the conduct with the client before reporting to avoid any negative implications for the firm's reputation. Answer B. The lawyer is required to report the unethical conduct to the appropriate authorities immediately, even if doing so may harm the colleague's career. Explanation. Rule 8.3, reporting professional misconduct, mandates that lawyers report any known violations of legal ethics, including questionable conduct by colleagues. Failure to do so can result in disciplinary actions against the lawyer who fails to report. Even if reporting the misconduct might harm colleagues' career, the ethical obligation to report unethical behavior outweighs personal concerns. Lawyers must act in accordance with the legal ethics rules to maintain the integrity of the profession. Question 15. When improving a process that shows unexpected results, what should a lawyer do if they uncover that their client's actions could result in violating the law? A. The lawyer should ignore the potential violation if the client insists on proceeding, as the client's wishes take precedence. B. The lawyer must advise the client of the potential violation and recommend alternative legal avenues to ensure compliance. C. The lawyer should continue with the process without advising the client, assuming that the potential violation is unlikely to be discovered. D. The lawyer should stop working with the client immediately if violation is uncovered. Answer. B. The lawyer must advise the client of the potential violation and recommend alternative legal avenues to ensure compliance. Explanation. Under Rule 1.4, Communication, and Rule 1.2, Scope of Representation, a lawyer has an obligation to communicate openly with the client about potential legal issues, including violations of the law. If a lawyer discovers that a client's actions may result in legal violations, they advise the client of the situation and suggest legal alternatives to ensure compliance. Ignoring the violation or proceeding against the client's best interests could lead to both ethical and legal ramifications for the lawyer. Question 16. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges must be addressed, how should a project manager prioritize tasks when limited resources are available? A. The project manager should prioritize tasks based on their urgency and allocate resources to the tasks that have the most immediate deadline. B. The project manager should assess the potential long-term impact of each task and prioritize those that align with the strategic goals of the organization. C. The project manager should delegate less critical tasks to junior staff while focusing solely on high-profile tasks to maximize visibility. The project manager should wait until the critical challenges are resolved before addressing less pressing tasks, allowing resources to be concentrated on immediate problems. Answer. B. The project manager should assess the potential long-term impact of each task and prioritize those that align with the strategic goals of the organization. Explanation. In high-stakes environments, it's essential to prioritize tasks based on strategic objectives. By assessing the long-term impact and alignment with the organization's broader goals, project manager ensures that resources are used efficiently and that the project has lasting positive outcome. This approach helps avoid short-term fixes that might detract from achieving long-term success. Question 17. When dealing with a complex system that shows occasional lapses in compliance with regulatory requirements, what ethical considerations should a lawyer take into account before advising the client on how to proceed? A. The lawyer should advise the client to take a calculated risk and proceed without correcting the compliance issues, as the likelihood of detection is low. B. The lawyer should advise the client to rectify any compliance issues immediately and ensure ongoing adherence to regulatory requirements even if the system occasionally fails. C. The lawyer should recommend continuing business operations as usual, ignoring the regulatory lapses and focus on maximizing profits. D. The lawyer should discontinue representing the client until the system is fully compliant with all regulations. Answer: B. The lawyer should advise the client to rectify any compliance issues immediately and ensure ongoing adherence to regulatory requirements, even if the system occasionally fails. Explanation: a lawyer has an ethical obligation to ensure that their client adheres to legal and regulatory standards. Ignoring compliance lapses or advising clients to take unnecessary risks can expose them to legal and financial repercussions. A proactive approach addressing these issues is essential to maintain ethical conduct and protect the client's best interests. Question 18. In an environment where different components must interact, such as a large firm with specialized practice areas, what is the most effective way for team leaders to ensure collaboration across departments while maintaining ethical standards? A. Team leaders should assign tasks to specific departments and let them complete their work independently, checking in occasionally to assess progress. B. Team leaders should establish clear communication channels and regular check-ins, ensuring that all departments align on common goals and ethical practices. C. Team leaders should minimize interaction between departments to prevent cross-functional disagreements from arising, focusing solely on department-specific goals. D. Team leaders should allow each department to determine their own ethical standards, as each department has its own priorities. Answer: B. Team leaders should establish clear communication channels and regular check-ins, ensuring that all departments align on common goals and ethical practices. Explanation: for effective collaboration across departments, team leaders must facilitate open communication, encourage mutual understanding, and ensure that ethical standards are consistently upheld. Regular check-ins and alignment on goals help prevent misunderstandings and ensure all departments work toward the organization's overall success while maintaining ethical integrity. Question 19. While investigating a complicated issue between different stakeholders, what should a mediator prioritize to reach a resolution that satisfies all parties involved? A. The mediator should prioritize a quick resolution to avoid prolonged conflict, even if it means compromising on important issues. B. The mediator should ensure that all parties are heard and try to find a balanced solution that respects the interests of each stakeholder. C. The mediator should focus on identifying the strongest argument in favor of the party with the most compelling case to bring the issue to a close. D. The mediator remain neutral but allow the most influential party to dictate the terms of the resolution. Answer: B. The mediator should ensure that all parties are heard and try to find a balanced solution that respects the interests of each stakeholder. Explanation: the role of a mediator is to facilitate communication between stakeholders and find a solution that is fair and balanced for all parties. A quick resolution may be tempting, but it is more important to ensure that each party's concerns are addressed and that the solution is acceptable to everyone involved. This approach fosters lasting peace and cooperation. Question 20. During a comprehensive review of a process that needs improvement, what steps should be taken to identify root causes of inefficiencies and prevent similar issues from recurring? A. The review should focus on individual errors and assign blame to those involved in the process to discourage future mistakes. B. The review should involve gathering data from all stakeholders, analyzing systemic issues, and implementing corrective actions that address underlying causes of inefficiency. C. The review should focus solely on procedural adjustments, disregarding human factors or external variables that may contribute to inefficiencies. D. Review should be limited to identifying quick fixes and immediate solutions without investigating long-term improvements. Answer: B. The review should involve gathering data from all stakeholders, analyzing systemic issues, and implementing corrective actions that address underlying causes of inefficiency. Explanation: to effectively address inefficiencies, a comprehensive review must consider all factors contributing to the problem, including systemic issues, human behavior, and external factors. By gathering data and analyzing the root causes, organizations can implement system solutions that improve overall performance and prevent similar problems in the future. Question 21. In a situation where formal requirements conflict with informal operational practices, what should A leader do to balance both sets of demands. A. The leader should prioritize the formal requirements and disregard informal practices, ensuring that the organization complies with all legal and regulatory standards. B. The leader should allow informal practices to take precedence as long as they do not interfere directly with formal requirements. C. The leader should seek a compromise that integrates both formal and informal practices while maintaining compliance with regulations. The leader should eliminate informal practices entirely to avoid potential risks associated with non-compliance. Answer: C. The leader should seek a compromise that integrates both formal and informal practices while maintaining compliance with regulations. Explanation: balancing formal and informal practices requires a nuanced approach. Leaders should ensure that the organization remains compliant with all legal and regulatory requirements while also considering the value of informal practices that may enhance efficiency or morale. By finding a leaders can create a work environment that is both compliant and effective. Question 22. When implementing new protocols in a shared environment, how can organizations ensure that all stakeholders understand and adopt these changes effectively? A. Organizations should mandate compliance with new protocols without seeking input from stakeholders to ensure consistency. B. Organizations should involve stakeholders in the development of the new protocols and provide training to ensure proper understanding and implementation. C. Organizations should focus on communicating the protocols through formal channels only, avoiding informal discussions to ensure clarity. D. Organizations implement the protocols gradually without communicating them to stakeholders, hoping they will adapt naturally. Answer: B. Organizations should involve stakeholders in the development of the new protocols and provide training to ensure proper understanding and implementation. Explanation: involving stakeholders in the process helps ensure that they understand the rationale behind the new protocols and feel invested in their successful implementation. Providing training and encouraging feedback are key to ensuring smooth adoption and minimizing resistance to change. Collaborative approach leads to more effective and sustainable outcomes. Question 23. During a seamless transition where continuity must be maintained across various systems, what is the best way to ensure that there are no disruptions in service? A. The transition should occur quickly with little overlap between old and new systems to avoid confusion. B. The transition should involve extensive testing and phased implementation to ensure that each system component functions properly before full integration. C. The transition should prioritize cost-cutting measures, regardless of potential disruptions to service. D. The transition should involve suspending service temporarily to prevent any operate failures during the switch. Answer: B. The transition should involve extensive testing and phased implementation to ensure that each system component functions properly before full integration. Explanation: a seamless transition requires careful planning and testing to avoid disruptions. By conducting extensive testing and implementing the changes in phases, organizations can ensure that the transition is smooth and that each system component is functioning as expected. This minimizes the risk of service interruptions and ensures that continuity is maintained. Question 24. While analyzing the root causes of sequential problems in an organization, what should be the first step in addressing recurring issues effectively? A. Address the most urgent problems first, even if they are symptoms rather than causes. B. Focus on identifying the patterns and underlying causes of the issues rather than addressing isolated incidents. C. Blame individuals for the problems and implement stricter oversight to prevent further occurrences. D. Ignore the past issues and focus on preventing future problems without considering the root causes. Answer: B. Focus on identifying the patterns and underlying causes of the issues rather than addressing isolated incidents. Explanation: to effectively solve recurring problems, it is essential to understand the underlying causes, not just address symptoms. Identifying patterns and systemic issues allows organizations to implement long-term solutions that address the root causes, reducing the likelihood of future problems. Question 25. In a case where multiple parties have different objectives, what should a mediator do to ensure a fair and equitable resolution for everyone involved? A. Favor the party with the most significant influence or resources to reach a quick resolution. B. Focus on maintaining neutrality and work toward a solution that addresses the interests of all parties, even if it requires compromise. C. Recommend that each party abandon their objectives to reach a middle ground quickly. D. Allow the party with the strongest case to dominate the discussion and dictate the terms of the resolution. Answer. B. Focus on maintaining neutrality and work toward a solution that addresses the interests of all parties, even if it requires compromise. Explanation. The mediator's primary role is to remain neutral and facilitate fair resolution that considers the interests of all parties. While compromise may be necessary, the goal should always be to ensure that each party's needs are addressed in balanced manner, leading to a solution that is mutually beneficial. Question 26. During a critical transition period where existing processes are being overhauled, how can a leader effectively manage the resistance to change from employees who are accustomed to the old system? A. The leader should impose the new processes without consulting employees, ensuring that the change is swift and decisive. B. The leader should communicate the reasons for the change clearly, involve employees in the transition process, and provide training to help them adapt to the new system. C. The leader should allow employees to continue using the old system as long as possible to avoid disrupting their routine. D. The leader should enforce strict penalties for who resist change to ensure compliance with the new processes. Answer. B. The leader should communicate the reasons for the change clearly, involve employees in the transition process, and provide training to help them adapt to the new system. Explanation. Effectively managing resistance to change requires clear communication, involvement of employees in the process, and offering support like training. By addressing concerns and helping employees adapt, leaders can increase acceptance and ensure that the transition is smooth. Minimum disruptions and resistance. Question 27. While examining inconsistencies across various units in a multinational corporation, what is the most effective strategy for identifying the cause of these inconsistencies? A. Focus only on the units with the highest discrepancies and ignore minor inconsistencies to prioritize resources. B. Conduct a thorough audit of all units, comparing practices, resources, and performance metrics to identify patterns and root causes. C. Assume that the inconsistencies are due to external factors and address them without analyzing internal processes. D. Allow the individual units to resolve the discrepancies independently with interference from central management. Answer. B. Conduct a thorough audit of all units, comparing practices, resources, and performance metrics to identify patterns and root causes. Explanation. A comprehensive audit that includes all units allows for a systematic analysis of inconsistencies, helping to identify patterns and root causes. This ensures that the organization addresses underlying issues rather than simply applying temporary fixes, leading to more sustainable solutions. Question 28. In an environment where different components must interact smoothly for optimal performance, what measures should be taken to ensure that system integration is seamless and efficient? A. The components should be tested separately and the system should be integrated only when each part is confirmed to work independently. B. Each component should be integrated into the system without preliminary testing, assuming that they will work together automatically. C. Comprehensive testing should be conducted at each stage of the integration process to identify and address issues early, ensuring that the components interact smoothly. D. Integration should be postponed until all components are developed, with no interaction until the full system is ready. Answer. C. Comprehensive testing should be conducted at each stage of the integration process to identify and address issues early, ensuring that the components interact smoothly. Explanation. For optimal performance, it's critical to test components as they are integrated, ensuring that any issues are identified and addressed in a timely manner. This approach minimizes the risk of failure, ensures smooth system interactions, and enhances overall efficiency. Question 29. In a multi-location scenario where consistency requirements must be met across all sites, how should an organization standardize operations while allowing for local adaptability? A. The organization should impose a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, ignoring local preferences or variations. B. The organization should develop a flexible framework that allows for standardized core processes while enabling local units to tailor non-critical aspects to meet specific needs. C. The organization should allow each location to operate completely independently with no central oversight. D. The organization should focus on compliance with regulatory requirements and ignore other aspects of standardization. Answer. B. The organization should develop a flexible framework that allows for standardized core processes while enabling local units to tailor non-critical aspects to meet specific needs. Explanation. A balance must be struck between standardizing core processes to ensure consistency and allowing local units the flexibility to adapt non-critical aspects based on regional differences. This approach fosters both operational efficiency, responsiveness to local conditions, ensuring overall consistency without stifling local innovation. Question 30. In a situation where resource allocation becomes a critical issue due to limited availability, how should an organization prioritize its resources to ensure maximum impact? A. The organization should allocate resources based on historical performance, prioritizing areas that have been successful in the past. B. The organization should prioritize projects or departments that directly contribute to revenue generation, regardless of long-term strategic goals. C. The organization should assess each project's alignment with overall strategic goals and long-term objectives, allocating resources to those that provide highest value. D. The organization should allocate resources equally across all areas to maintain sense of fairness, even if it means spreading resources too thin. Answer. C. The organization should assess each project's alignment with overall strategic goals and long-term objectives, allocating resources to those that provide the highest value. Explanation. Effective resource allocation requires strategic approach, prioritizing initiatives that align with long-term goals and offer the greatest potential for impact. By focusing resources on high-value projects, organizations can maximize their return on investment and ensure that limited resources are used efficiently.